Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. On today's video, we're going to be installing a new electronic fuel pump and rear wheel spacers for the Datsun 280ZX today. But before this video gets started, be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing as well. We have a lot of things planned for this year. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. Okay guys, so the purpose for this video today on why I'm installing new fuel pump and some wheel spacers. So pretty much after I lowered my car, if you guys actually haven't checked that video, be sure to click that link right above here. Ever since I lowered my car, I've been having a loss of power or a rough idling or a weak idling issue. I've been trying to diagnose the problem to see if I can try to fix it. So I've been told, I did some research. The only things that I've been doing was changing the spark plug wires, the spark plugs itself, a new distributor cap and distributor rotor, and I believe I cleaned the IAC valve, which helped with the idling a lot, but it didn't really solve the issue of my loss of power. Like pretty much when I would go up a hill or if I just drive it slowly, the RPMs would just want to drop all the way down to zero and my engine would just stall out completely. So what I did some research and I found out it could be the fuel filter or the fuel pump. So I'm gonna see and go ahead and try to attempt that today. I'll just show you guys the parts in just a second. I'm not really expecting too much when I install these parts today, but if it works out, great. We can go ahead and move on to the next step of the process of this build. Also for the wheel spacers, I am rocking some 22mm spacers, I believe, in the front because I was having some rubbing issues when installing my coilovers. The tire would just rub against the spring. Pretty much, I just wanted to get some for the rear just to get that extra fitment. Also, as well, just to give it a nice clean surface. The problem was when I tried to install it the other day, it actually stripped my splines of the OEM studs. So I got some new studs as well, so we will be installing those today. We're going to be doing a little bit of different work to try to get them on. I did get new nuts to actually go onto the OEM studs, but for the ones that came with the wheel spacers, they don't seem to fit. So we're gonna go ahead and see if we can try to mock those up. I'm not really too sure like how it's gonna be, but if it works out, great. If it doesn't, oh well. But with that being said, let me guys show you what we're gonna be doing. Alright, so these are the parts that we're gonna be installing or using today. We got the fuel pump, the stud installer tool, the fuel filter, wheel spacers, the studs and components for the fuel pump, and as well as clamps. Pretty much all we have to do is just jack the car up and get it on some jack stands. I'm going to go ahead and actually start with the wheel studs first. Let me actually open this for you guys. Alright, so here is the new OEM wheel stud that's designed to go in the rear of the Datsun 280ZX. I'm not really too sure what the specific size is. Like, I try seeing what the numbers are, but I can't really tell like what exactly it means. But it says 320 ABN 10.9. I don't know if you guys can figure this out, but like I just searched up to see if they have wheel studs for the Datsun 280ZX, and they said that these fit. So I'm gonna go ahead and start jacking up the car, and then we can go ahead and install these new studs, use the new tool, and hopefully install these wheel spacers. Let me actually pull that out for you guys really. So these are the new wheel spacers that's gonna go on the rear. I had some trouble when installing them because, like I said before, they stripped my studs, so I'm gonna go ahead and replace those first, and then we can install this. So pretty much like I just wanted that extra fitment as well as a clean surface for the wheel to mount up on. As you guys can see, these guys are just demolished, and this is what it should look like. All brand new, but compared to this one, yeah, these definitely need to get changed out. So as you guys can see, my surface is rusted, as well as where I had where the wheel was mounted up. Like it's not too bad, but like we definitely need to clean that. So here is the before shot, and here is the after result after I brushed it with the drill. So much better. Like I can't wait to get this wheel mounted back up. I did also clean the mounting surface on here too. There is like some corrosion that's a little stuck on there, but I'm not really too worried about it because we're gonna hopefully install that wheel spacer in today. So with that being said, I'm gonna see if I can try to figure out how to take off the rear brake caliper. I'm pretty sure I've done it before, but it's been a while since I last changed the brakes. So what I'm aiming to do is to make the caliper come off without taking out anything, and hopefully I can just slide the rotor off, and afterwards we can get to the new studs. Okay guys, so we're underneath the car right now, and we're actually behind the brake caliper and the whole wheel assembly. So I figure out there's these two bolts on the top and bottom, same as in the front or same as every other car. There are going to be 14mm bolts. The problem is though, the one on top has barely room for me to like slide anything, just anything between right here where my finger is. So I'm gonna see if I can try to work through it and maybe use an extension, and I'll get you guys back in a second. Alright guys, we finally got the brake caliper off. As you guys can see, I have it hanging on that bucket, or it's resting on that bucket. I just took off the rotor, it's actually right over there. So now all I have to do is pretty much just hammer these out, and they're gonna come out from behind here. But first, I'm just gonna go ahead and see if I can try to like get rid of all this brake dust a little bit, just to make it a little bit more nicer, and I'll get you guys back to a second, and then we're gonna go ahead and hammer these guys out, and then we can install the new studs. Alright guys, so nothing too fancy here, just did some wire brush action. So now I'm gonna go ahead and try to knock these studs out. This is my first time removing studs, so like it shouldn't go wrong because I'm just hammering them out, but wish me luck and let's see what happens. Okay guys, before we install the new stud, I actually got this tool here to help me so it doesn't mess up while installing it. So pretty much what we have to do first is, let me actually get this out for you guys. Alright, so pretty much hopefully you guys can see that. So pretty much when we put the new stud behind the rotor, this goes over like so, and we have to get a lug nut to go over these threads, and then we have to tie them down with impact gun. But from what I saw from the video, we actually have to apply a thin lubrication on these splines here just so it can go in smoother. It won't exactly like fall out or anything, just to give it some extra lubrication because it is metal on metal contact. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use some copper anti-seize, just a thin layer around before we install it, and then it should work, and then afterwards we can go ahead and install the new ones. Alright you guys, the new studs are installed. They came out great. They were actually super easy to put on. Like these are actually the old studs down here, but thanks for this tool to help me get the new studs in. If you guys want to find this tool, definitely go to Advanced Auto Parts or O'Reilly's, which I actually got this from. But if you just want to order online, it's a lot cheaper. I just happened to get this because I just needed it now. Alright, now that we're making such good progress, we can go ahead and see if we can actually rock these wheel spacers. Alright guys, the spacer is on. Unfortunately, I cannot rock these spacers because as you guys can see, we have the OEM studs that are sticking way too much out, so the wheel won't exactly sit flush against the flat surface. So I'm gonna have to remove these. I'm not super bummed about it, like I'm just relieved that I got those studs in super easily. Now I just have to put everything together, and then we can start on the next step on the fuel filter. Okay guys, so finally I got the wheel and the brake caliper back on. Like, it definitely took a while. It had a little issue when putting back the piston into place, but as you can see, the wheel's mounted back on. For now, I just uses the lug nuts for the wheel spacers just to hold on to the wheel, because I actually went out and bought a fresh new pair of wheel lug nuts. I went ahead and bought a wheel lug set just because, like, I have a bunch of different lug nuts that are each on my wheel, so I think it's time to get a new set for myself, and it comes with a locking key as well, so I'm super stoked to put this on. So at the moment right now, we're gonna go ahead and pop the hood because we're actually gonna be working on the fuel filter now. So pretty much all I have to do is depressurize the fuel pump, and I have to figure out which relay it is. Like, I'm not really too sure because let me actually show you guys. On these boxes here and here, honestly I don't even know which is which, but they should say on top which relays it is for, but it doesn't say at all. It's completely gone, or like it's barely on there. So I have to do some research when I have to pull out the fuse and then have to crank the engine until it depressurizes, and afterwards we can go ahead and get started on the fuel filter, which is right here. Okay guys, so I'm having trouble looking for the fuel pump relay, so I think I'm just gonna send it. Pretty much, I'm just removing the clamps or loosening them up, and then I'm gonna be installing the new fuel filter, which is right over here. So pretty much just unplugging 2 hose clamps and then plugging this one back in, and afterwards we can go ahead and install this and then move on to the fuel pump. I'm pretty sure fuel is not supposed to look that dark brown. So luckily we're changing this out today. Like, super easy to remove, should be pretty easy to install as well. So we're gonna go ahead and get the new fuel filter and then reinstall it. Alright guys, new fuel filter has been installed. Like, nothing too hard here. Pretty much like all I had to do is just like clamp down these hoses, and actually let me focus up again for you guys. So yeah, like I said, just hose on the top and bottom. There was a couple of 10mm screws for the bracket that holds the fuel filter, but now we can finally move on to the next step with the fuel pump. Okay guys, so this is the electronic fuel pump for the Datsun 280ZX. I got this at Z-Car Depot, really reliable source to get Datsun parts. Only problem is I had, however, was it didn't come with directions whatsoever, so I'm not really too sure how this is gonna get installed today, because this is gonna be the first time I install a fuel pump ever on any car. It came with other hardware and accessories like these black rectangular shapes. I'm thinking these are actually supposed to go around the fuel pump to put inside the bracket that holds it underneath the car. I did get some new clamps as well, just in case. And what we're gonna do now, we're gonna actually jack up the car in the rear even higher, put it on a higher standpoint, so that way I can just roll underneath. Be a really clean install, and hopefully I can get you guys underneath there, because it is a pretty tight space. So we're gonna go ahead and jack the car up. Okay guys, the car is jacked up higher now. I can finally get underneath the car with this little handy dandy. I'm not even sure what this is called, just to get underneath the car. The fuel pump is actually gonna be that object right there. Let me actually focus that for you guys really quick. So yeah, so pretty much is we have to take out these 2 bolts right here. I believe they're 10mm, and I think there's one on the other side, and the fuel pump should just fall out, and afterwards we can go ahead and disconnect those wires, and I think there's a wire on top there, and then we'll deal with the hose. Alright guys, fuel pump is finally out. Just a little quick comparison for you guys. Here's the new one, here's the old one. Pretty much a big difference. Obviously this is longer and this one's a little bit shorter. So I heard that this one is actually louder than the original one, so I'm not too sure how I'm gonna feel about that, but as long as my car will run, like, then we'll see what happens. Like, I'm still not, I don't have high hopes for the car will be running normal again, because this is a really old car and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be replaced. But we're just gonna go ahead and install this. First thing we have to do is remove the old bracket and transfer it to this one, and we have to remove the caps on each of these sides and we should be able to install it. Okay guys, so I finally got the bracket off. It took some time because I actually lost one of the bolts, or the OEM bolts that's supposed to clamp this down. But we're going to go ahead and go underneath the car. We have to open up some wires and connect the positive and negative terminal, which is going to be, let me just put this up for you guys real quick. So yeah, it's going to be the positive and negative terminal that's going to screw onto those golden pegs there. And then afterwards, we can go ahead and start the car and see how everything turns out. Alright guys, I finally installed the fuel pump. It definitely took a long time because it's a cramped space, and when connecting the hoses there's just so little room. But we finally got it in. As you guys can see, it's just dangling right now. That's because just in case if I mess up the wiring, if the positive and negative terminals need to be switched, I can always just go back and then switch it around and it should be fine. But I'm pretty positive that I got it in the right position. So now I already connected the battery, so all I'm going to do is just turning to the run position, making sure I hear the fuel pump, and then we're going to start and see if the car turns over. So I'll see you guys in a second. Alright guys, moment of truth. We're going to find out if the fuel pump is working. Also, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, I just installed an LED dome light for my interior. It looks so much better. It was definitely worth the wait. I highly recommend getting one, guys. It makes the biggest difference. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and prime the fuel pump. So we're going to put into run position. Alright, so I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that's definitely the fuel pump. I'm not too sure if it's louder, but it definitely is a little noisy. Nothing too bad, but looks like it's working. We're gonna go ahead and start the car and see what happens. Oh man, dang, she started up pretty good, not gonna lie. So I'm gonna go ahead and let it warm for a bit. I'm just gonna rev to see if the RPMs drop, and after that, we can go ahead and give it a test drive. So I'm gonna go ahead and let the car move up. Okay guys, so it looks like everything seems to go well. Not really too sure like how it's gonna be once I start driving it. It sounds pretty healthy to me, but I won't know until I drive it. So in a second, I'm gonna go ahead and go for a test drive. I will have my camera charging, so I will see you guys in a bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the garage, put everything, torque my wheels and everything like that, and I'll see you guys at the test drive. Hey guys, just want to let you guys know I went for that test drive. However, we ran into a few problems. Pretty much when I went for the test drive, the Datsun performed very nicely. It looks like it was the fuel filter was the issue. It was pretty much clogged up. However, it only lasted about a day that my Datsun was doing better. Pretty much I was having a weak spark, so I couldn't figure it out at the time. So I actually went up to a local shop that was here in San Diego County. These guys at North County Auto Service, I want to give you guys a huge thank you. You guys really came through with this. I was totally at a loss. I didn't know where to start. They told me that I had a weak spark and I needed new spark plugs. So after the installers, I went to go pick it up. Pretty much the Datsun was better than before of anything that I ever did. I never heard the Datsun sound like this before or perform like this. It came out like the biggest difference when it came out of the shop. So I'm very happy you guys really came through and fixed my car. So pretty much they told me that everything mostly needs to get changed in the car, which is understandable. This is an old car that I'm working on. So the biggest issue right now is they told me that I have a cracked manifold. Now I knew there was a leak in my manifold somewhere, but it looks like it's getting out of hand now and I need to replace it or patch it up somehow. Pretty much I just wanted to let you guys know like what the Datsun's doing right now. It is definitely performing better than it was before. Just want to give you guys a huge thank you for watching this video. Be sure to hit that like button, comment down below, and consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.